I'm with you. And for those companies that are investing in generative AI, one of the things that's been a concern, aside from the obvious hallucination issue, is the cost issue. Um,
Correct.
Now, the cost, if you look at actually the data, the cost is coming down significantly. There's like a 10x decrease in inference cost over the last kind of 3 years or so. So the cost is definitely coming down. However, the cost is still a concern because depending on how you've implemented your solution, you might have a solution where you're making 7 API calls for every one turn of the conversation if you want to go through various guardrails and checks and stuff like that. I think that the jury's still out in terms of how cost effective Gen AI systems are at
Right.
scale compared to the
See,
traditional IVR stuff.
obviously, there is a cost factor. You have to pay something upfront. You have to pay something to maintain your Gen AI IVR system. But look at the benefits as well. If you have 500 agents handling your calls within the call center with generative AI, you probably don't need those 500 agents. You can run your call center with 100 agents and you can automate some stuff. And if needed, you can hand up the call to the agent. Now you are not restricted by the time as well. You can run your call center uh, operations 24/7 without any issues.
Mm.
So in a long run, there will be a lot of benefits, uh, cost benefits as well, I would say. Of course, you have to invest something upfront and just to maintain the systems, Gen AI systems.
Mm. And where do you think that kind of like, I mean, it's good that Klearcom is looking at this because I think that there's definitely a gap. There's a gap all over in terms of testing of these systems. Quite honestly, from the design and development phases through to kind of like live in production monitoring and QA and stuff like that. So I'm glad to sort of like hear that this is what you've been thinking about. Where do you think that your kind of competition is in this kind of space? I don't necessarily know of that many other companies that do something specifically like this, but I can imagine a few who might. For example, some of the CCaaS providers may consider doing something like that. Some of the Twilios of the world, these kind of like cloud providers may do something. Is there any competition? Is this a competitive market at the moment, or where do you see that coming from, if anywhere?
See, there are competitors, but they are not testing traditional IVR or generative IVR systems the way we do. We have telephony lines, fixed lines, and GSM lines in more than 100 countries at the moment. If you have to dial a toll-free number, you have to be in that country. Your line must originate that call within that country to dial a toll-free number.
Mm.
So this is the main thing.